neighborhoods. So Thorncliffe, Flemington Park, Woodford Heights, and Leaside. So the whole purpose is really just to update you on what's going on in the city, update you on what's going on in the community, and also to give you an opportunity to ask any questions or voice your concerns. Hello. I am actually recording this, so I hope people don't have a problem with that. The whole idea is that we can post it online. So it's a cold night, a lot of people can't come, and so it'll just be an opportunity for people to see what's going on. So we have a few people here tonight that will be speaking. They will be limited to 5 minutes, and I'm pretty good about maintaining that rule. And then that'll give everyone about an hour to ask questions. Where's Pat Moore?
She was here.
Pat, where are you, Pat? Well, anyway, Pat Moore works tirelessly in the community, and she actually hand-delivered a lot of our flyers, and it's a lot of work in some of these buildings, so I just wanted to thank Pat publicly. So, my little update is mostly about Costco, because that's it's top of mind in the community. They were supposed to open for November of this year. And they did promise to have a job fair in the community to give the community sort of first shot at a lot of the job opportunities. Unfortunately, they've had some issues with the building itself. The Coke office was deemed heritage, and which, yes, that's a little bit of a joke in my mind too. And I never tire of letting the community know that that designation cost the community about $2 million in Section 37 money. Right, so when that happened before me, when I was elected, they said to me, the cost for us to actually maintain that building would be about $2 to $2.5 million. We're happy to give that to the community if you could reverse the heritage designation, which I could not do. So in any event, the extra, it's going to take them about a year more, they're thinking right now. So now we're looking at an opening date of 2018. Okay, that's the big thing. So we'll see what happens with that. Also, what's happening at City Hall is we will be looking deeper at licensing of landlords. That's a top of mind issue as well. I've recently switched committees. Every councillor is on a committee, and I asked to go on the Municipal Licensing and Standards Committee, which deals with tenants issues. So I just started on that, and that will give me a little more knowledge of what's going on in the tenant world. Also, I'll be able to advocate a little bit better on your behalf. So tonight we have a whole bunch of guests. I'm going to actually read everyone off. First speaking will be Susan Wright. She actually is working on the market garden concept in Thorncliffe. So I thought it would be good if she could come and speak to you about what she's doing. And Costanza, let me see what your actual... Costanza, I first met Costanza, and the reason I'm having a problem with what she does is she was the one that actually got us ice time in Flemington Park so we could have a free hockey league with the police. So she was really so important. We had this idea of creating a hockey league with the fine officers of actually 54 division, but we couldn't get enough ice time, and it was actually Costanza that got it done. So I love Costanza. But she switched over to she's now manager of community recreation. No, that's Michael. You should always bring your glasses to these things. Director of Community Resources. Yeah, and Thorncliffe and Flemington Park are both what we call neighborhood improvement areas. A lot of people question what that means. Costanza's going to tell us. Michael Ellison. Now he's the Parks and Forestry guy, and he'll tell you what he's up to and what we're up to, and in terms of facilities and whatnot. Gabor, he's Municipal Licensing and Standards. He's not going to be presenting, but he will field all your questions and complaints. Matt Moyer, Staff Sergeant 53 Division. I love Matt. He works tirelessly, and all the good work that the officers do in Thorncliffe, and the really positive relationship that the police have with the community. I'm a big believer that it starts at the top. It really, you know, a lot of the problems and positive direction of whatever relationship we have going, it really comes from management. And Matt's a big part of that. He's in charge of the community office. He's got a few health issues, so he's going to be gone for a couple months, and that's going to be a real blow, but he will be coming back. But Matt will be speaking for a few minutes, but I'm very sincere when I say I'm very proud of the relationship that the police have in Thorncliffe with the community, and that's a testimonial to the community, but also to Matt Moyer and his officers who are here. And Ahmed Hussein, who's the director of TNO, also works tirelessly, and thank you for having us here tonight. And TNO is working with the city. We're working on a community hub. I think Costanza will probably talk a little bit about that. So I've gone over my 5 minutes, so here's Susan Wright.
Thank you. Hi. I'm, as John said, I'm Susan Wright. This is my son, Owen. He sometimes attends these meetings with me, and it's always nice to have an icebreaker. Nice smiley face. So I worked last summer in partnership with Ahmed and the TNO team, who are amazing, to deliver the summer lunch program. We provided about 10,000 lunches to his summer camp kids, and in the process of doing that, we got kids out into gardens, realized that they like being in the dirt, and growing plants and harvesting themselves, and so I applied for some funding to grow food for the summer lunch program and to grow it in the community, and I was granted a bit of money, and so I'm here tonight to talk a little bit about that. So some of you may have the paper that was provided that gives a bit of background on it. So there are programs around the globe and already around the city, and I'm sure Michael probably knows about many of them, where instead of planting beautiful flowers, we plant edible food. And then that food is provided into the community to kids. You build connections with schools, with campers, so that you can grow that stuff and teach kids all about it. And there are so many ripple-down benefits of having food grown in a community and having kids and community members a part of the process. So I'm here just to say a few words about it. There's some diagrams here where you can see what it could potentially look like. Ideally, I'd like to be speaking with some of the building owners and the development companies that own many of the buildings in this space, about using some of that unused land that is currently kind of grass to be used for gardens. And I think what we'd like to do is put food in there, put beautiful spaces for people to convene and come together, places for kids to play, and we're looking forward to trying to develop some lovely spaces around the community that provide both food and fun. So on this page, if you take a look at it, you can see some before and afters of what we're dreaming this could look like. And then on this following page, there's a nice article about EMS workers in Hamilton using some of their property to grow food that they provided into the community as well. So hopefully Matt and his team might be interested in growing on the police grounds, but we'll talk about that later. What I'm here for mostly tonight is to see if there's anybody in the audience or if anybody knows anybody who would like to help us with, we're going to have some sessions with the community where we talk about what the designs look like, what kind of food we would want to grow. I need folks to try to spread the word. I would love to connect with people around knowing if you know anybody who would offer up space. If there are commercial businesses who might have a small space, 10 by 10 feet, it could be anything, where we could just start growing food. And then finally, if anybody knows of people that I should be talking to in the community who could help us move this forward, I'd love to hear from you. So I have a sheet. I'm going to pass it around, and if anybody wants to put their name and contact information on there, I think Ahmed might be able to grab it for me at the end, because I can't stay the whole time, unfortunately. But I would love to be able to connect with people around designing this space, collecting people together who care about it, getting great ideas about what we can grow and what these spaces look like, and then finding where we can put these gardens in. So that's all I have to say. I'm happy to take questions if anybody has any. My name is Susan Wright, again, and my contact information is at the bottom of this sheet, if anybody wants to reach out to me directly as well. Any questions? Yes?
Is there any chance that
my dream is that it will be organic. I'm hoping to not use any sort of chemicals at all. Yeah, absolutely. And if anybody knows anybody who knows about growing food, I'd also like to talk with them. So I'm good at delivering lunches, but usually food that's already been grown. So happy to meet with people who know about urban gardening. Maybe you're one of those people. Yes?
Who's in charge of the garden that's down near the play area and the tennis courts? What is that?
In RV
Fence around it.
is that the one in RV Burgess?
Pardon me?
The one in RV Burgess?
No, Lisa Park, right over here, yeah. That's the
Burnside
city.
Park,
Oh, yeah, that's,
there, the tennis court.
and I think that's
I
the
don't know who's
Thorncliffe
running it. It's
neighborhood
a
office.
community garden.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's Ahmed's space.
It is actually, yeah, it is it's actually a communal garden. It's done by a group of women, about 20 women. So they actually do collectively the work, and they share the produce. And we help them getting the seeds and whatever they need. But basically they are actually running it, and it has been successful last year. And there was a community person, who's an agronomist who lived in Thorncliffe, who helped them to, in terms of how to do the certain produce, and been very helpful to them. And it was very successful last year. And they will continue to do that next year as well. They're actually applying to expand, to get another portion of that land at the back, so they can increase the produce they're putting there in next summer.
There was an awful lot of soil there. It didn't look like some of the gardens were being used.
Some of the area has not been used at the back because it was not authorized to be used. We were expecting we will get 2 plots, but we did not get it. So that soil was intended for the new area. We expected to get that.
Okay, so how do you get involved in that if you want to?
I will give you my card. You will give me a call. I will connect to you people who are doing, the community members who are doing. They actually need people to help them.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh,
Not a very good question. I think that area should be used for the children to enjoy gardening, right, you know?
Absolutely.
And right now it's in self-centered where people go to plant their produce, they're very, very conservative of what they grow and what they plant. And that image of gardening agriculture is not shared among children, you know.
well, that's,
What can we do to better that?
well, so I would just add
To better
that,
that environment.
that last summer,
To share that environment with the children in the neighborhood.
yeah, that's exactly our objective.
I have a garden area, and I plant plants, and I invite all the children to come and see what I plant and how it grows.
Great, well, we want to work
Yeah,
with you. for sure.
absolutely.
I
Yeah,
don't look for the personal benefits of the produce. It's a neighborhood thing.
right.
Yeah.
Could that garden area be a reflection of our neighborhood thing?
Absolutely, that's our
Because
objective.
right now, the way it is everybody is.
So last summer, I worked in partnership with Ahmed and his team, and our kids from the camp, or his kids from the camp, went to that garden. And they had a number of visits through the summer, and that was what spurred me to think, we need to have more gardens in this community. And so we would love to have you on the
Children
team.
are the fabric of our society.
Absolutely,
We want to teach them agriculture.
absolutely.
Food is expensive.
Okay,
Yeah, it is. It is.
all right. So I'm going to pass the paper around, and I hope to see several of your names on the list. Oh, sorry, do you have a question, sir?
Excuse me,
Yes.
there was no plotting in this Thorncliffe area for gardening. And 2-3 years ago, there was a lady named Amy. Now-
Okay, sorry, I'm gonna stop you there. If it's a direct question for Susan,
Yes.
great. If it's about gardening, community, and everything else, we're gonna hold those to the end, because I wanna get them on the microphone. And what I want everyone to do is present and then questions. The only reason I allow questions with Susan is because she has to leave.
I mean about gardening.
Yes.
I am the horticulturist and I love rose plants.
Okay.
I company with the Amy and we started over there. The corner at the plot was there and John Parker provided watering line over there. Since there were a lot of ladies and I was the only man over there, so I left them. And sometimes children come and I guided them how to make the soil fertile and how you can grow this. And actually I am very...
Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to cut you off. We can revisit that at the end. this is not about Susan. So Michael might be able to talk to some of that. And we'll have questions at the end. I just want to get through the presentations.
Okay.
So does anyone have questions of Susan? Okay,
Please sign up.
okay. Costanza's up next, thanks.
Thank you and good evening. I work with the City of Toronto and I'm with the Social Development, Finance and Administration Division. And I'll speak to you a bit about our Toronto Strong Neighbourhood Strategy, and the councillor referred to it as the neighbourhood improvement areas. So Toronto, you know, from North York to Scarborough, you know, Etobicoke, it is a city full of neighborhoods. In fact, we have 140 neighborhoods in the city that have their own characteristics and you know, make this city so vibrant. And what we did, our department, in 2014, we worked with other research organizations, and we took a measurement of neighborhood well-being that was developed by the World Health Organization. And so we took that measurement and we applied it to all 140 neighborhoods in Toronto to see how are our neighborhoods doing. And what we found was that there are 31 neighborhoods that aren't doing as well as others, and they need some investment and they need some attention so that they can, their measurement in a number of categories can be at the same level as the others. And those categories that we looked at were healthy lives, so in terms of, you know, people's chronic disease like diabetes, you know, those heart disease, that type of things. We looked at economic opportunities, what were sort of the employment levels in neighborhoods. We also looked at social development. What was the high school dropout rate or the rates of post-secondary education? We looked at civic participation. Are residents engaged in their government, and do they vote? Those types of things. And then we looked at physical surrounding. Do the neighborhoods have these recreation facilities, the parks, libraries, all those things that make a neighborhood healthy and bring residents together? So the Thorncliffe Park neighborhood, it's identified as one of those neighborhood improvement areas. And actually, that's an opportunity for your neighborhood to get attention from the city. So when we look at investments that need to be made in neighborhoods, we focus on the neighborhood improvement areas. Council, as part of that, has given us a fund of about $12 million for capital improvements within the neighborhood improvement areas. It's not a lot of money in itself, but what we've been able to do is partner with other divisions, whether it's the library, whether it's with United Way, whether it's with other levels of government, because we've pulled together all the organizations, the funders that we call, that provide investments in neighborhoods, to say, what are we doing in these neighborhoods? One of the projects we're looking at, and I'm sure Ahmed will speak to it later, is the possibility of creating a community hub in this neighborhood. So that way, the city can provide some funding, United Way's providing some funding, we're in discussions with the Ministry of Health. So, so this is an opportunity to bring residents together. In addition, I have a staff, which we call a community development officers, that works with residents and agencies in the neighborhood, and what they've created is a local planning table, because there are different services here, but sometimes we're not coordinated. So we might be missing some service, we might be duplicating. So this allows all the partners to come together and plan together and provide services together so that we're coordinated and we're making sure that resident needs are being met, because residents are part of that process as well. So that's a little about the Toronto Strong Neighborhood Strategy. The other thing that my division is involved in is the Tower Neighborhood Revitalization. So that's where we look at towers in the city of Toronto that were built before 1982. And we work with the property owners in terms of trying to bring or introduce more efficiencies, environmentally friendly kind of improvements, whether it's windows, improving windows, or cladding for the outside. So we work with the property owners to do an assessment of their environmental use and how to help reduce it. We'll bring in Enbridge or Toronto Hydro to give them strategies to reduce energy costs, which help the property owner, but also make life more comfortable in the units for residents. We have a youth equity strategy where, again, we work with other city divisions, whether it's public health or the library, focusing on the needs of youth. The city has, and through our division, we lead the newcomer strategy. We were very active in leading the city's campaign in terms of the welcoming Syrian refugees. That happened last year where the bulk were coming in. So there's a variety of programs that we offer, and we do it by coordinating with other service agencies, coordinating with residents, and coordinating with other city divisions, and of course coordinating with the councillor as well.
Thanks. The nice thing about holding the meeting is I can break the rules. So I'm gonna ask Costanza to answer 2 questions. What exactly do you, first of all, mean by a community hub?
Yes.
And I noticed, so that's the first thing. And then you talked about the funding, the $12 million, and I see Adil Patel and Aisha Sherry here. They do a lot of work, more on the Flemington side, but also Thorncliffe, and they've been very good at figuring out the system. And my experience, especially in neighborhood improvement areas, is that not everyone really understands the system. And that's why I think it would be very valuable to explain a little bit about pole funding and how people can, how the community, how we can access those funds.
Okay, so POLE funding stands for Partnership Opportunities and Legacy, and this is the 12 million. So what happens is there are community groups that have ideas. They want to improve the arena, for example, or they want to create a community garden. So they come together to develop a plan, and we have a staff in your neighborhood. It's Rebecca Bassi, who works with residents and community groups to help develop those ideas. So a group has an idea. Let's say it's creating a community garden. There's interest from the neighborhood. It's a priority. Then they'll approach the city department that owns that piece of property. So if it's in a library-owned property, then they would approach the library, or if it's parks, they would approach Parks, Forestry, and Recreation, have that discussion. Is it possible? Yes, it's possible. Parks and Rec is interested. For example, they can maintain it after. They can help to support it. So we've got residents, we've got a city division, and there might be another organization like TNO can say, well, we can contribute this, or we can help out in this way. So now all of a sudden you've got a partnership around a community garden, and we do have an application form. It is on our website, but again, through your community development officer, she can help you fill out that application form. And so you fill it out, and what we want to see is that there's partnership, that there's an opportunity that the city division, because it has to be on city property, this money, it can't be on private property, but the opportunity that the city property, like I said, library and Parks and Rec are supportive, and there's a legacy that we're not just gonna build it and then nobody uses it. But the legacy is it's going to be sustained, it's going to be used, that there's a history to this. So if you meet those 3 criteria, then you've got a good application. So you submit that, and then we look at all the applications that have come across the city, and we really evaluate them around those 3 criteria. So keep that in mind when you're applying, that's what you want to demonstrate that your project can achieve. And then the other, and you asked about a community hub. So community hub for what we're looking at right now, and I'm sorry if I hope I don't take all your, but it is I guess it's a service center that provides multiple services to residents so that they only need to go to one place to get their healthcare needs addressed, to get any legal supports, any health, well, I did mention health, employment information, dental sort of services. And the idea is, rather than residents having to go over here and over there and all over, to make it accessible and easy for people to get the services they need, and in one location would be ideal, and that's what we're working towards. But I'm sure Ahmed will tell you more, because we're working in partnership, and we've got a great opportunity in this neighborhood, and there are a lot of people working really hard. And once we get more a commitment, we'll be coming out to residents and engaging residents more fully in it. But this is just to give you an idea of what is happening now.
Thanks, Costanza. Yeah, one of the concerns that actually we all share, Costanza, Ahmed, and myself, is that transportation out of the community is not as convenient as it could be. And I believe the closest hub is what, Victoria Park?
Yes.
Right. So for the community to get up to Victoria Park can be very difficult. So a lot of services are not being taken advantage of. And that's what we're trying to do, is bring the services to the community as opposed to forcing the community to go out and find the services. So, Michael Ellison, really important, especially in Thorncliffe and Flemington. Our parks get really well used in both the communities, and they're always in tip-top shape. And Michael can talk to you about that and anything else he'd like to mention.
Hello, I'm Michael Ellison. I'm the manager of community recreation for the North District, and I'm going to talk briefly about our facilities master plan. So over the last 3 to 5 years, we've developed 3 service plans: one for parks, one for community recreation, and one for forestry. We're currently working on a facilities master plan, and that will be going to executive committee in June and then council in July. The intent of the service plan is to determine how we renew and upgrade our facilities, how we address gaps and growth-related patterns. So we know that some of our facilities are aging. They're older, they're aging, they need to be renewed. We also want to talk about how we work with others. So how do we work with partners to develop facilities? So there's limited dollars. We have a variety of needs in the city. Not all of it can be funded through tax-based dollars, but there are opportunities to work with partners, like Cassandra just talked about, and how we do that. I'll talk briefly about some of the things in the plan. It's going to seek to sustain a sustainable funding plan. Right now, a lot of our growth is funded through Section 37. So you have areas that don't have as much growth, and it makes it harder to build. So there's gaps in some of those areas. It's going to use the plan to inform the city budget and related planning. Where we have gaps in services, where don't we have water in certain parts of the city, indoor water, where don't we have parks, where don't we have community centers. It's going to talk about the design of community centers. Do we build large-scale hub community centers where we hub arenas, community centers, and pools so that people can take multiple services at one time? Do we build neighborhood centers? It's going to seek ways for our facilities to become more year-round. So we have lots of seasonal facilities. We have tennis courts that are seasonal. We have arenas that are standalone arenas that only work during the winter. And part of that is that they were built, I think Angela James, someone explained to me, was built as an outdoor arena that you put a roof over. So it's not really well insulated. So when you attempt to use it in the summer, it's not well. But it's how do we make our assets year round, all right? It's gonna seek ways to closely monitor the utilization. We have assets that we built years ago that aren't used. We had baseball diamonds that we built that aren't used the same way they are now. And there are new trends, new communities, new issues. So the plan's gonna look at how do we determine what we built, how is it being used, And if it needs to change, how do we change it? And so that plan, like I said, will come in June to executive and then July in council. And it's gonna be a comprehensive 20-year plan, so it'll be gone, it'll be here before I'm gone, by the time I'm gone, I think. And I often get confused for Costanza still, or I get called Costanza's predecessor because Costanza used to be the manager of community recreation. A little bit about the buildings in the area. So Jenner, Jean Marie, and Dennis R. Tembo are what we call community centers where programs are free, meaning we don't have user fees at those facilities. So all those programs are free of charge, and whether they be swimming lessons, skate, all those kind of programs. Then we have upcoming 2 dates I want to give you. February the 27th at Jenner Jean Marie, we're going to have a workshop on how to register for programs. Because on March 7th is the spring registration, and we have camp, we have spring swim lessons, we have all our soccer, basketball programs. So it's important that people come out to the workshop and get information on registration. I'll answer any other questions at the end.
No, at the end. At the end. So, and Michael's not going anywhere. We won't let him leave. Don't worry. Okay, but I want Matt to speak and then Ahmed. The one thing I was going to say is that Ahmed and I have been really pushing hard for a proper community center in Thorncliffe. The Jenner Jean Marie, it's fine, but it's also very small and missing a lot of things like a swimming pool. The big challenge with this facility's master plan, or whatever they're doing, is that they go by the census. And Costanza knows this, and Michael knows this, and we're working trying to lobby to change it. But the census for Thorncliffe, I believe, identified the community at about 19,000. Was it 19,000?
19,000.
Yeah. But most estimates put the community at over 30,000. So that, in my opinion, would really change the needs of the community. And so if they're looking at 19, the Jenner Jean Marie may well be appropriate, although they do look at other factors, I know that, but the population has to be a big one. So we're still working on that. And it is the one area in the city that I really feel has been neglected by council is our, I'll say the community centers, but sort of the youth, right? We see what's going on with our youth, and we know in Thorncliffe we have literally thousands. It is the one area that I would actually designate a tax increase. Like I would like to see whether it's 1% or even 2% a year would bring in about $50 or $60 million. And then, so if we raise taxes by 2% every year, we could essentially build a community center. I don't know that the mayor loves that idea, but it's something that I would like to promote, because I do think it's great to have a master plan, but if you don't have funding for your plan, then what good is your plan? Anyway, I digress. Matt Moyer, 53 Division. There you go. Thanks.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Just a couple of things. I think I've got it down to 3 minutes and 18 seconds, so I'll be quick here. I've been rehearsing all afternoon, so here we go. You ready? 2016, what we did last year in 53 Division, we focused primarily on our youth. And we felt that that was going to be the greatest investment moving forward as a neighborhood and as a community, was to get officers more engaged with the youth. So one of our officers, and actually he's here tonight, Narinder, has been nominated for a provincial award because of the investment made for 8 separate programs that he ran through Thorncliffe. So the William Sneap Award for Pro-Action. So that was our push in 2016, and we're very proud. Actually, he's here tonight. And we will pick up on that in the new year. We're going to continue to run programs that speak to the youth in Thorncliffe. Secondly, I just wanted to talk very briefly. John, I'm going to leave you. Where'd John go, for Christ's sakes? There you go. Don't let him leave. I have this for you, John, before I leave. So one of the hot topics right now for the Toronto Police Service is the Transformational Task Force. It's changing the look of our service. We have a massive budget. We have a lot of officers. And the emphasis is all about let's be smarter about this. Let's put police officers where they need to be. So we're doing a massive needs assessment in the City of Toronto, looking at our neighborhoods, looking at our communities, looking at our crime areas, looking at our areas that have traffic issues, traffic problems and demands. Where does the community need us? And that's going to be as we move forward in the next 2-3 years. You're going to see some pretty heavy duty changes, but as Costanza mentioned earlier, right, about 140 different neighborhoods, Thorncliffe has been and will be identified as a neighborhood. And we're going to have the privilege of being able to put officers here on a full-time basis that are going to be, you may have officers here, and the way it'll be set up is that they will be making a 2- and 3-year commitment. So you get to see the same faces all the time. You get to know them by name, you get to know them by where they're going to be, and that's how we keep ourselves current and effective in the community service industry, because we are customer service industry. That's how we're going to do it. Lastly, I'll tell you that we're running some programs right now to support seniors in our division, and we're bringing that into Thorncliffe as well. And you'll see more about that through our CPLC as we move later on throughout this year, because we actually are going to try to do a sort of a twofold approach in Thorncliffe. We're letting our neighborhood officers target the youth, and our CPLC is going to be targeting some programs for seniors. Traffic's always an issue. We always talk about traffic. I get emails and phone calls all the time. And one of the things that concerns us so greatly about traffic is the safety of our seniors. You know how vulnerable you can be up and down the road, late at night, crossing the road, so on and so forth. And we want to take that on in 2017 and see if we can do a better job looking after the seniors in our community here. And we're going to be doing that through some programs through the CPLC. Lastly, I just want to say again, this is a transformational time for our service. It's really critical. So if you see things going on in your neighborhood, issues that you think affect our quality of life, I really want you to take the time and speak to our neighborhood officers. They're here every day, and or contact myself. All of your contact information that goes through John's office comes through John. Anything John needs, he sends it right to me, and we'll get back to you right away, because really the only way we're going to move forward and make some real concrete changes about always looking after the safety of our youth, of our seniors, of everybody in Thorncliffe, is if we do this together in a partnership. I need your communication, I need your feedback, okay? But John, I'll leave you this book. 3 minutes and 19 seconds. Bang on, man. Look at that, eh?
Thank you, guys. It took him a while to get to that point. He comes to all these meetings and he usually is about 20, so. Ahmed Hussein, TNO.
My name is Ahmed Hussein. I'm the Executive Director of Thorncliffe Neighborhood Office. I think most of you know in Thorncliffe Neighborhood Office, but I will just share with you the services we do. And the main services we do is settlement services. People who are new to the country to access settlement services, which support them, their integration. The other activities we do, we provide 0 to 6 programming in what's called Ontario Areas programs. We are also an Employment Ontario Center, which means people can access employment in services and resume, any mock interviews, and anything related to make their resume look presentable to employer. We provide also youth programs, even though we have small, we spoke about the recreation in the community. The facilities in the community are very limited, the number of children in this area. We have a youth center which is 2,000 square feet, and it's not really much for the number of kids in this neighborhood. So it's a dropping center. There's a couple of few things that's there, but we do provide a number of programs at the schools. We permit Thorncliffe Park School, in Valley Park, and Margarno for delivering programs, which is core programs as well as gatherers only programs. We provide language classes. This space you are in are divided into classrooms, and at the back 300 individuals learn English every day. We provide programs that are targeted to women in the community, and one of them is supporting the gardening, but also women who do catering and who want to build their businesses. So that's the services in Thorncliffe Neighborhood Office provides. I will talk about the hub. The hub we are envisioning is to have space where we will have one-stop shopping and TNO has 4 locations, and we would like to have all our locations to be one place that people can go. If you are a youth, you can go there. If you need employment, you can go there. If you're learning the language, you can go there. But also, if you are in accessing in early learning, you can go to that place. So it's one space, and you don't need to travel between those locations. That's what we were looking. So when the opportunity came that the space at East York Town Center, where former Target was, there were interest from St. Mike Hospital, which wants to have a dialysis center there. So they decided to negotiate it to have the ground floor to set up in state-of-art dialysis center. Then we thought about why don't we check the second floor, where number of community agencies who are renting. The legal clinic is here. There is also a primary health care and health access Thorncliffe Park, which is started to hire doctors who will provide primary health care services, medical services. Why don't we all go together and we approach the city to work with us and help in getting that space? But that space will be one-stop shopping. So we're hoping that all TNO services will be there, because we are paying rent here, we will pay rent over there, but it will make it more logic people to have one-stop shopping. But also there will be a medical services there, the legal clinic to be there. There is organizations who provide people with disability who are interested to be there. There are organizations who provide senior services and who will be there. So basically it will be a multi-service location, even though each organization has its own identity and services, but it will be a coordinated services that will help people to access those services. But also the other very important thing that the hub will provide is, and that's United Way and city and everybody else is interested to do that, is to provide a space to the community. So basically you don't have to an organization. There's a number of people who do a fantastic job in this community, and it's a group of seniors and who needs space to socialize. There's a group of women who provide services in the community and children, and as well as in a number of other programs. So those organizations or individuals can access that in space. For example, Tenants Association, and we're looking at space to meet with tenants who have an issues. So it will be a space available, which will probably be part of that hub, and they can access that. It's kind of a hoteliering, so they book the space, they get whatever they need, it becomes part of their support that is available to them. So basically, it's a community space will come where there is a gathering, when it's a community gathering and there's an event such as this one, it is available for the community, and those things will make the community and cohesion actually better. And I think make the community to access services without traveling between different organizations. For example, Better Living Community Services, they are in Don Mills area, and they provide seniors services, huge senior services. They will have a shop here. So basically people who are in this community do not need to go there, they can actually have at the mall. And anyway, the mall is a center place where majority of the people always go, whether it's do the shopping or just having a space to sit and enjoy meeting with other friends. So in a nutshell, that's what I would present tonight.
This one, I guess that's for us. Thank you, Ahmed. Okay, questions? And I'm gonna bring you the microphone. I know one question to start, and then we'll circle back.
Okay, Mike. Yes. We have a park here with the pathway.
Yes?
There's 8 standard lights. There were only 2 working a month ago. A crew came, now there's none working. It's dark, dark, dark. okay?
Okay.
So you should start that.
I'll talk to my parks people. I've got to make Blackberry.
I'm not allowed to ask you a question, but what's the progress on that project?
Yes, they have.
Okay, let me point out something here. A few of us here are owner in this building upstairs. And I admire what you guys are doing, but we're being ignored here. I don't know if I want to elaborate on it, but we're on the fence between Leaside and Thorncliffe. We are owners, and 3 o'clock in the morning, people are playing soccer in the park here. Officer Matt, I've lived here 20 years. You guys never showed up any of the time I called to solve the situation in our parking lot. 20 years. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
So Matt, there have been some concerns about, I know there was some vandalism at the tennis club.
Yep.
And some drug dealing that's being, that people think is going on, believe is going on. And I know you do have 2 officers in the community pretty much at any one time, right?
So we do have 2. The problem is they're not here at 3 o'clock in the morning because they're on foot. So just going back, when we had the vandalism at the tennis courts, it actually happened twice. And someone set the wind nets on fire around the tennis courts. So we did have officers that attend. I actually received 2 emails from people in the community saying, thank you, we see the officers sitting out there. And what we did is we asked our officers, if you're completing a report on your computer in the car, go park over there. Park there, just let people see you there. Let these jerks that are causing the damage, let them see you there. And the information that we had for the longest time was things were quieting down. I'm concerned when you tell me that there isn't enough high visibility policing between, say, midnight and 6 in the morning type thing, or 10 till 4 type thing. So this is some of the takeaways, and this is why we have these meetings. And I will go back to the division and say, I need the uniformed officers. They're in a scout car at 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, when they can, to come over and sit there and do their reports. Now, the only thing I was just gonna ask you is, I'm of the opinion that this was a bigger problem during the nicer weather, right? When they were like playing soccer on the baseball diamond or drinking, right? Not so much in the winter, is that correct?
We can enjoy our balcony because
Okay.
of the noise.
Yep.
We had an agreement originally with Councillor Pittsfield, I don't know where she went, but anyway.
Yep.
When they built that baseball diamond, that everything would stop at 10. Now, where you're talking about kids, those are grown men playing at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
In the dark.
Okay.
As far as the officers, I'm not talking about having officers sitting there, but when there's 4 cars there and I go down to tell them to get out and they try to run me over and I call the cops and they don't show up,
Okay,
some trouble's gonna happen at one point.
I agree.
I'm too old to deal with this.
I don't know that really age is relevant. I think anybody that has to approach somebody at 3 o'clock in the morning has to fear for their life is an issue. I understand, I hear what you're saying.
It never came.
Okay.
20 years.
Again, I don't know, we're talking about an isolated event, and I apologize, I'm sorry, I don't know. But clearly what you're telling me and what I'm taking from this is that we need to have some more officers, high visibility officers down there, and pushing back on these people that are causing a problem at 3 in the morning.
Answer the calls, that's all we want.
And that's a very fair question, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And once again, municipal licensing and standards, if you have any questions, they deal with pretty much all your apartment issues. All the, if you have a complaint that you're not, you have repairs that aren't getting dealt with, you've put in your work order, or if there are cleanliness issues. I know we've done some major audits of the buildings in Thorncliffe. So if you have any issues or questions, Gabor's here to answer those. And I do apologize, Michael's the big wig for facilities. Although he's in Parks and Rec, he's the facilities guy. But I know you'll talk to Jim Mackay, I know. Yeah.
John, I just wanted to ask Matt's question.
Okay.
I know I spoke to you earlier, you said it's a bigger problem in the summer. It's a different kind of problem in the summer.
Okay.
And I feel like we do, because we live in the townhouses here. So we're also owners who feel like we're ignored. And the summer problem is the kids playing soccer in the park, or adults playing soccer in the park, or outside drinking. The winter problem is more car-related. So they will speed up and down Leaside Park Drive, or they'll do donuts in the parking lot, or they'll sit in their car, maybe 3-4 cars at a time, doing, I don't even know what, and you surmised something there. So I hope that answers your question, and I'll talk to you after.
Well, thank you very much. I have a question for you and by extension for Mr. Amadou Hussain. Both of you have talked about, first, congratulations, you got some grant to look after this area. But listening to you, I had the impression that you are striving to have a hub here. And Mr. Amadou Hussain also spoke about the same problem. Are you duplicating? Are you working together? And also, can you just enlighten us what areas you have identified that we need for this location, like Thorncliffe neighborhood, which will be most helpful? Thank you.
So thank you for that question. We are working together with TNO. We're working with the health center. We're working with the city's dental clinic. We're working with the legal clinic. We're working, as Ahmed said, identifying some other agencies like the community living that provides services for people who have a disability. There's another organization that deals with seniors. We've got the Mike Guerin Hospital is also part of it. Downstairs is a dialysis clinic through St. Michael's Hospital. So there's a lot of services, and we meet regularly, and we're looking at the target. And we're looking at, St. Michael's downstairs, I think they have about, I'm not sure, 25,000.
About 25,000 square feet.
Yeah, and we're upstairs, we're looking at about
70.
70,000 square feet. So we're talking about a lot of space with, doctors coming in there, a lot of services. So we do not want to duplicate. We're planning, and and we're consulting, and we're engaging the Ministry of Health. So there are a lot of people that are working really, really hard to make this happen. And it would be an incredible opportunity for this neighborhood because these are not easy services to get together. And it's about everyone coming together with a vision. And residents will be part of it in helping us to design that, because it's also a place not just for services but for residents to come together and have festivals and special events and programs for children and seniors. So this is a wonderful opportunity. So I hope I answered your question. Thank you.
Pat, did you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question, not for the MLS guy. Is it only when somebody calls that you all visit the building?
So the question was, does the MLS staff only visit buildings as a result of a phone call, or are they more proactive?
Well, both, to be honest with you. We have a team called the MRAB team, Multi-Residential Audit Building Units. They have a preset list. They go out, they audit buildings, and then they put them on the list, and then they go out and audit them one at a time. However, if that building is not on the list and you do have a problem, you can call 311, and we will send an officer out to take a look at it.
When I call 311, what is the answer I get? Do you live in that building? What's your name? I don't live in the building, but I went around to the building in the community. I think I would like to see lots more inspectors inside the buildings. You look at some of the buildings in Thorncliffe, it's horrendous. I was tempted to bring the media there a couple of days ago, but because of John, I don't want to do that. But I would like to see if you all be proactive and visit, especially 35, one elevator is working. I walked yesterday from 49 Thorncliffe from the 21st floor down. I checked the elevators, something is wrong, definitely wrong. So something needs to be, especially in this community, 6, 8 mileposts, 27 Thorncliffe, 246 Grandstand. It was like, I couldn't believe that holes in the ceiling in 22 Thorncliffe. The landlord put a wall on top of a wall. Is this possible? Did they get a permit from the city? What if there is a fire? what's wrong and who is looking after it to see when it's done.
No, understood. If I can meet with you after this, and you can give me all those addresses, I would not mind looking into all of them, and I can get right back to you. Yeah, not a problem.
Perfect. Thanks, Pat.
Oh, hi. My name is Bill Catalano. I live in 85 Thorncliffe. First of all, I'd like to thank John for organizing these meetings. I find them very informative because it gives everybody an opportunity to ask questions. But when talking about these 150 odd communities, I'm very interested in, you say there were 40 identified or however many that needed upgrading or needed improvements. I mean, each community has their own unique needs in terms of the age of the population, et cetera, and going forward, how are we going to manage and control the progress made in each community? Because some communities have been underserved, I guess is a nice way to put it. And I see that there's some organization and structure to change that. So will a report be produced that the councillors can see to make sure that they're getting a fair piece of the pie kind of thing?
I actually want more than just a fair. I want more than my fair share.
Yeah, he
actually.
wants a lot of.
So I think things are on the right track, and I guess as long as there's continued follow-up and a publication of how we're progressing is very important, because for some reason the communities have been allowed to reach the state that they're in, and now we have to make sure that everyone is being properly recognized.
Right, thanks, Bill. Excellent point. So a couple points I'll make on that. So with this poll funding, it helps. It's not the be all and end all, but it really does take community involvement. And I've been saying this since I was elected, and it's nice to see a lot of familiar faces, people that are very active in the community. I know Pat's been, how's many years it been, Pat? 40? Pat's been sort of a one-person army for a number of years, and there are a lot of familiar faces now, but the whole idea is getting the community involved, right? And I always, and I make this joke, and I don't know if I should make it, seeing as it's going to be on the website, but there could be a hurricane in Thorncliffe and nobody calls. Someone has a cold in Leaside, I get 6, right? And it's a bit of humor, but it's a reality. And you know that whole adage, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So I do encourage people to call and to complain and to be active and to look for ways to build the community, right? And so it's really, it's as Costanza was saying, it's really that teamwork and holding me to the fire, absolutely. And I hold them to the fire. But we just, you know, it's great that we have, 50, 60 people here tonight. I'd like to see 200. When we have 30,000 people, I think we should have 200 people. Next question. Well, they never get a negative response from me, right? You know that. I'll come out anytime, pretty much any place. And, you did call me about a building, and we did an MRAB audit. A lot of changes have been made. Thanks, Susan. So I get what your concerns about have been in the past with the city in general, but we have a pretty good team now, so we're happy to try and address everything. Oh, you don't want? Oh, you can. No one lost my mic.
My question is for Parks Forestry. So this has to do with the swimming pool over here.
Yes.
So I lived in pretty much grown up in Thorncliffe. Last summer was the first time that Black Bag offered swimming lessons here, and that was only because Burnside pool was closed. I would love to see that come back again in the summer. I thought it was great. Two things. Number one, you only offered lessons up to Ultra 5, so I'd like to see it continue up to Ultra 9. And the other thing was, there was a fee. It was fine for me, but for the
So I will pass that on to my aquatics counterparts about that. And typically why we don't do lessons in pools and the outdoors is the season's often cut short because of rain and that kind of stuff. So, but I will pass that on to them. We do at some pools do outdoor lessons. I'm not sure the depth of that pool. If it's deep,
It was just the summer, and it was big blocks.
yeah, which is what we normally do. So you can do them for 1 week. And so if you're going away somewhere or if you're doing something else, if you want to go to camp, you can. But I will pass that on.
Michael.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Flemington area, water park is closed for 3 years. I don't know
The which?
why this time, Flemington area, there is a water park small. for
The splash pad?
Splash pad.
Water park.
The splash pad?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so that was, so I'm more than happy to explain that one. So that broke down, I believe, in 2013. And I can't tell you why it wasn't dealt with. When I was elected at the end of 2014, I made it a priority. And it was, I think, one of the first splash pads ever built in the city. And it was old, it could not be repaired. So it had to be an emergency rebuild. The cost of that, I believe, was $550,000. So we had to push it up the ladder, which we did. And so it usually takes, well, a year is actually quick because we have to put it through our capital plan when it's that kind of money. If it's 20 or 30,000, that's one thing. 550,000 is a major project. Everyone else got bumped. So we did get that done. We got it completed last year. So that's as soon as I could. And
When I go to some other areas, I see where facilities are very, very different, very high class facilities. Do the neighborhood pay that one?
so, and I think it was Costanza was talking about section 37. Or was that Michael? Is Michael?
There's no comparison, why this is so much?
So there's no question, like if you go to Yonge and Shepherd, where they have a lot of development, the local area gets what they call section 37 money. So when you intensify in an area, the developer is obligated to give the community money, called community benefits, okay? In certain areas, and it's unfortunate, it tends to be in the priority neighborhoods, you don't have as much development. So it's very circular, and catch-22 actually. So what happens is, certain areas of the city get millions and millions of dollars. Like downtown, where they built one building, they got $23 million in section 37 money. Other areas don't get any. So,
Go to West Mountain Finch, you will find a water park, you will have surprise.
yeah, well, I don't know about I can't answer that.
New buildings are there that they are paying, like new buildings, they are paying development charges, I understand.
Yeah.
But there's a very old area, and the big water park, and at least 20, 30 people are working, and why is the big difference?
Yeah, I don't know about, I can't answer about there. I mean, some of it's legacy, it's been there for a while. The other problem is, you know, you have something like the Timbrel Center, which is actually quite old and quite tired and needs a lot of rehabilitation. But the problem is there are other areas of the city, there might be a great facility at Birch Mountain Finch, but then there are other areas of the city that have nothing. So you kind of get put in that list. But in terms of the splash pad, that was moved up the list. There's a little bit of development going on. As we know, the Costco, $650,000 is coming to the community. We negotiated that. And Flemington Park will have more money coming into the community as a result of what's going on at Don Mills and Eglinton. Oh, so that's why I like people to use the microphone. Well, it was specifically, it started off about the splash pad in Flemington and why it was out of service for 3 years. Okay, that's really how it started off.
Good evening, my name is Helen. This might be a question for more than one person, but we'll ask the facilities man. So you're saying a lot depends on Statistics Canada's counting for population for a lot of things to happen. Where do you get the figure of 12,000 for Thorncliffe?
19,000.
So that's really more.
Yeah, that was more John's statement.
It was my statement. It's 19.
2011.
But you said a lot depends on the
Well,
lot happening.
it's for
depends
the
on
facilities
census.
review. It was specific to this facility review master plan of who's underserved, who's overserved, that sort of thing.
Right.
One of the factors is obviously population.
Right.
They tell me that there are many other factors. My fear is that population would be an overriding factor. It only makes sense, especially when you already have a community center,
Yeah.
right? The 19,000 is from Statistics Canada. And I-
Well, the ward profile for the City of Toronto for Ward 26 is 64,910 in 2011.
Thorncliffe.
And
But that's not Thorncliffe, that's Ward 26, that's Leaside, Flemington,
Exactly.
Thorncliffe, yep.
Exactly, but Leaside hasn't grown in size or probably population, but Thorncliffe has, and probably Flemington has. So the people in numbers have grown, maybe not the number of dwelling counts, but the number of people has grown exponentially, and this is the fastest growing area in Canada for population. So if things have to happen because of population growth, then what is the holdup?
Well, that's
What
my,
is the,
well,
you know-
the plan is, the facilities plan doesn't come out till June, but that's
Right.
my argument, is that the community has grown. But Stats Canada, that's who the agency, the city's looking at, for these numbers.
And that's that number, that is that number.
The number
So-
is 19,000 from Stats Canada.
No,
and
it's,
that's
no,
my-
it's six, no, it isn't.
45,000 people live inside Thorncliffe Park, so something is very wrong.
No, we're saying the same,
Well-
I agree. That's my whole argument. I'm saying they're more, I'm saying they're between 30, 40, whatever that number is. I'm not gonna argue about it. I'm telling you, Stats Canada told me that there are 19,000. I've argued with them. Costanza will tell you, Michael will tell you. I've had more meetings and I've showed them more documentation. Ahmed Hussein has brought documentation. United Way has brought documentation. I even have city documentation. And that's the challenge, is that the facilities people up to this point are still looking at Stats Canada numbers. And Stats Canada says it's 19,000.
So how could it be fixed if it's just Canada should be fixed? How could it? That's the argument. Is it important, right? That's the argument. Absolutely.
Councillor Burnside, teachers are the harvest of our society, and there's a dire need in our society to reduce the level of aggressive behavior amongst our children. Teachers know how to, but parents don't know how to. And there seems to be a big communication gap amongst teachers and parents, you know. I'm concerned about the children, right, you know, my neighborhood, because every child deserves a right to be a good person, to get a good education, and to be involved in sports, right? And we are trying our best to do that. However, parents don't know how to, right? You're the father of our society, so to speak, right? Teachers know how to, and parents know how to. Parents don't know how to. What are we doing in our society to reduce the level of aggressive behavior amongst our children? There needs to be a communication gap amongst the principal and teachers and the student advisory councils in the school and the neighborhood. I was in the school advisory council and everything was going fine. All of a sudden, there is a new council in there who don't stick to their agenda, they're aggressive. And the children are paying the price, you know. As my counselor, would you be kind enough to address this issue for me?
If I could, I would. Unfortunately, you're getting into the education system, which I have no experience or jurisdiction. Parenting issues, same thing. All we can do is our part, and you know, whether that's working with the police on a certain end, whether it's working with Costanza and getting more resources, or Michael and trying to keep the kids occupied and give them opportunities, those sorts of things. That's sort of, I'll say, what I can do. The other things, it really comes down to the community as well, right? And it comes down to community involvement and things like that. So I wish I had a better answer, but that's really where it is from my perspective. Yeah.
The question I'm going to ask is based on my belief, tell me if I'm wrong, is that fluoride is still being put in the water of Toronto. Is that true? I believe that it is. Is that right? Okay. I think you should know this. In the last couple of years, Harvard University did a study, and what they found is that fluoride in the water reduces the IQ of children by 7 points. So I think we should be checking into that, look into the research, and take a hard look as to why do we have fluoride in the water in the first place. We've been told for years that it protects your teeth. That's bogus. I've never believed that, and most people don't. But I think we should check into this Harvard study and ask ourselves the question, why do we still have fluoride in the water of Toronto? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I know Bill had I'm going to come back to you, don't worry. I want everyone to have a question first.
Okay. So I wanted to make one statement. I don't know how many people in this room have kids in the schools in the neighborhood. I believe you are one of the members in the executive committee in City Council, and you just passed the entire budget for student nutrition program in the executive committee, which is you have access to over 7,000 students just between the 6 schools we have in Flemington and Thorncliffe Park. So thank you for that. And it's going to go into City Council, and hopefully everybody will pass it on. I just wanted to let you know, Councillor Burnside, so that you can share it with your colleagues in City Council, that we don't want this program to be a poor kids program, because kids from age 3 to 18 are going to these schools. And as growing bodies, they need healthy food. There is research to show that it affects their behavior, their learning, their attendance. So we want to make sure that you, as our lead, convey that message to your colleagues at City Council, and this is the support that we will ask for year after year until the time that this program is nationalized. And there is a research from Covenant House that says homeless kids, which we do see in high schools and also unfortunately elementary schools, come from every part of the country, every background. On average, street youth first leave home at 15. About half of homeless kids come from middle and upper class income families. So if you can please share that with your colleagues, we would really appreciate it. The other question I had is, as a resident of Thorncliffe, I know we are talking about traffic and speeding and the population. It all points to that. I drive, I walk, my kids walk. Do you have any comment on the speeding? So cars don't only speed on the main roads, they speed in the driveways of the building. I'm a driver myself. I go to schools to visit programs. I'm a very watchful driver. But I have kids also, and I've seen people driving past, like even when there's a walk sign on. I don't know whether they don't see or not. They want to go as fast as they can. Same with pedestrians. They cross the street with strollers, even though we have so many walking points. Maybe because of the population, we need more walking points. I cannot really tell you what is the best possibility of solving this problem, but they cross as if they're going to the kitchen from their bedroom with their kids. It is scary because as a driver, if I hit someone, that person, when they die, most probably, hopefully they will go to heaven if they believe in it, but I'm gonna live with a lifetime of negativity in my life, even if it is proven that I am not at fault. So if you can do something regarding pedestrian education, I know you can earn a lot of money because there is charges for jaywalking. I've done research before coming here. So please, if you can look at that, not as a resident myself, as a driver and a walker myself. Thank you.
Thank you. Matt, did you want to comment at all?
Despite my fancy socks, the money's not coming to me. I want you to know that. If traffic was, if I could make money on traffic, I'd be a rich man. I don't know if you can hear me, but.
Is it on?
Are we on? There we go.
Yeah.
So, just very quickly, we created what's called an intelligence-led policing report for Thorncliffe. We created it about a year ago. We've opened it and closed it maybe 4 times. And what we were looking at was 2 things in Thorncliffe. We were looking at speed, and we were looking at what we called some of our disruptive driving on private property. 2 very separate issues, very quickly. So the speed we were looking at in Thorncliffe, because they were going crazy up and down the main roads. The other issue was we found that some of our younger kids were driving like idiots in the mall parking lots, in and around over by the mosque, over by McDonald's, so on and so forth. Separate issue, a little bit harder to enforce. The one problem that we have not put a lot of emphasis on, and I'm going to take this through for our next year, is pedestrians. And the problem is that because it's very, very difficult. I don't think, like, people just seem to cross in groves, whether they're off to the mosque, whether they're going to the mall. You're absolutely right. And what I think is a better plan, correct me if I'm wrong, because you guys are here, is rather than giving out tickets, is starting it from an educational standpoint first. Let's get these people, let's stop them, explain to them that if they get hit with a car at even 30 kilometers an hour, they can be killed. Now, who drives 30 around here? Not many people. I don't know why they put 30 in a car. They should just start a car at 40. But that's exactly the point I'm making, is that it's very, very dangerous. So my commitment to you moving forward in 2017 is that we'll try to do a little bit more of an educational program just to explain to people, if your child falls, if you fall, if you slip, you're often carrying 2 kids, so on and so forth, you're vulnerable. You're absolutely vulnerable. And I think before we start penalizing people, I think the first step is education. And I'm comfortable with that. If anybody is not, and stop telling me I'm going to make money on speeding tickets, please, because I'm not.
Thanks, Matt. So one little update. In the fall, the Premier announced that they would allow photo radar again, which was, I guess, in the early 90s, in school zones to start, and what they call senior zones. So you will see that. Of course, government moves slowly, so I'm not sure when that's actually going to come through, but you will see that. One of the big challenges, of course, is, and I think I got this from our transportation department, even if you look at stop signs, there are between 180,000 and 200,000 stop signs in the city. That's just stop signs. And we have about 5,000 police officers. So getting the police to actually, there's so many challenges that they have so that they can't spend all their time doing enforcement. So that's why I think technology like photo radar would be very helpful. In terms of the pedestrians, it's a challenge, because if anyone ever says something, oh, well, the pedestrian needs to do this, it's blaming the victim. But the reality is, I did look into the police statistics, about half of the pedestrians killed last year were deemed at fault. The other half were drivers that were whatever, going through red lights or banking turns or whatever it was, but the other half were pedestrians. So, it's all working together. I would like to welcome a few people. I see Sabina Ali, I see someone from Kathleen Wynn's office, Rob Oliphant's office, Jeff Cattell. So there are a lot of people here tonight. Now, you had a question and I didn't see you, so and then I'm going to come down this row.
Thanks for coming out and having this meeting tonight. I appreciate that you're here, but please, when you leave, just don't leave. Please action what you promise. I live here since the 80s, thanks to Pat, who actually put the flyer through my door, because we have mail delivered to the door, so I was able to come. Quite a few times I've come to these meetings because we heard at the last minute posted in the lobby. We don't get it to our door, so we don't know it's there until the last minute. My question is to the person who is in charge of the city regarding the elevators and the crowding in the lobby. I live in 49 as I mentioned, since the 80s I live in Thorncliffe. And there's a queue to get in my building after I'm finished working. That means there's a line out the door and out the building. I have to wait in a queue to get up to my floor. And in some evenings, I have to actually take my time and beat my way up the stairs because I cannot wait no longer because there's bridges to get upstairs. Is there someone gonna make sure that at least there's 3 working elevators in the building with 4 elevators and that many people? Because lots of times they're down.
Sorry, what was the address?
49. 49? Yes, Thorncliffe. I'm not sure how Pat managed to deliver flyers because that must have taken her the entire afternoon to do that because it's such a large building and the elevators are taking at least 10 minutes, 15 minutes to get up or down for one.
Okay, I'll have to look into it to see my apologies. I'll have to look to see if we actually have a complaint on file, which sounds familiar, and I'll get back to you. I'll give you my card before I leave, and then I'll get back to you personally and let you know exactly what's going on there. If we don't have anything on it, I will create a file and make sure that someone gets out there.
So yeah, I mean, the elevators probably the biggest issue that I've faced, I know Bill's here, you're at 85, aren't you? Same thing. The big challenge is that the city essentially regulates the convenience and the province regulates the safety. And I believe they're now talking to try to figure out how to sort of streamline that. So what normally happens, and I'm not going to name the buildings, but you all know I've been banging my head against the wall trying to get these elevators upgraded. But the way the process works is they're allowed to fix them in a reasonable amount of time. And of course, it's a lot cheaper to fix them than it is to replace them. Finally, I know at some of the buildings they are actually replacing them, and we'll keep pushing them on that. But it's a huge challenge because of the jurisdiction, although the city is working on getting that addressed. You had a question back here.
Old motors are not, they are not having full load on it. And sometimes people are stuck in the gate.
I'm not exactly disagreeing with the woman next to me regarding the traffic issue, but I will say that the only time that I feel safe crossing Thorncliffe is if I am jaywalking. Because I can wait for a gap in the traffic. I mean, not everyone can see, not everyone, I don't have a stroller or whatever. But where I'm not safe is where I'm crossing at the lights. On one occasion when it was taking a long time, it was heavy traffic, I went up to the lights to cross and I almost got hit. Seriously, there was someone beside me, we were crossing on a green light and somebody who was going to make a right turn just about ran into the guy next to me. And I thought, this is really ironic. This is the one time I've gone up to go to a light, and it's the only time that I've almost been hit. So I wouldn't want to, now that we've got advanced turn, lights at the major Thorncliffe Overlea intersections, there's a lot of danger for pedestrians at those lights. So I wouldn't want to see actually any action taken against jaywalkers who are looking for gaps in the traffic, because that's the only time I feel safe.
So in fact, I inquired about this. There isn't an offense if you're mid-block crossing. That's not the issue. I think what you were really talking about is people that just kind of cross and don't even look. So it's more that there's no actual offense. If you're mid-block, just be careful. Look, as your mom told you, look both ways. You have a question, right?
I don't need my I'd just like to know who chooses the services that come into this building and why the people who live in the building are not involved in those decisions at all. Because we do have a lot of people who use our public spaces all the way around the side and the front. We have a lot of cigarette ashes, we have a lot of garbage. We have a lot of those kinds of things. We have people sitting having picnics on the green section, which, and we're not involved in any of the decision-making of people who are in the bottom floor of this building, and we live here. We're not involved. We're not talked to at all.
And in fact, it's not the city either. I don't know what your arrangement is with the condominium corporation, but there's the commercial units down here, and then you've got the condominium corp. It's probably split in two. They're probably two separate corporations, but well, then you need to talk to your board. It's definitely not a city issue. Unfortunately, it's just not something. It's private property. Unfortunately, Christina.
I just would like to make a follow-up regarding the request that we submitted to you regarding that hump between 12 Thorncliffe and Food Basics. And you said that it was Morgard who's going to do something about that. Because in that area, they're making it like a racing space for cars to speed. And seniors are crossing that street, that area, and we walk slow, right? And the second thing that I would like to mention is that if you're saying to educate the pedestrians, I think educate the motorists who drive along this area that at least be concerned with the pedestrians. We're walking, they have cars, they speed. They can take time also to slow down when they see pedestrians crossing. Because I see that in Calgary, I have been there, they would stop, literally. The cars would stop if they see some pedestrians cross. Even maybe in highways it's not allowed, but in side streets they can stop for a while. You know, not speed, but give some concern to pedestrians. I think motorists should also be educated.
Thank you, and I'll get Angela to call Moorgard again, but that area you're talking about is the mall property. So we've asked, and we've made that request, but once again, we can't force because it's private property. Okay, I think we have time for I know Jeff wants a question. Jeff hasn't asked a question, so we'll go to him, and then if we have time. We got about 1 minute, so we'll try and get both in.
Thanks, John. This is really the last opportunity to find out about the budget, right? This is kind of like a budget town hall. And I realize it's a pretty complicated thing, the whole budget. The mayor wanted a 2.6% reduction for the departments, and then there's cost of living year over year, it's like a 1.3%. So we could be ending up with a 4% reduction in the budget, right? Which would translate into services. So I'm just wondering, and you're on the budget committee, you're on executive committee at that level. So and the budget will be approved next week. They've got to approve a budget next week, right? So from perspective of Thorncliffe, have you got a sense of where it sits? Like, are services going to be down, or is it going to be about the same, or where we're going to end up? This was a couple of months ago, but one thing I heard that was affecting the kids at Mount Garneau who swim at Don Mills Collegiate, because they were going to close the Don Mills Collegiate swimming pool, which is inside the school. So I don't know whether that got restored. Hopefully it did. But I'm just wondering, that's just one little story. But have you got a sense of where it's all going to land in the end?
We lost 3 buses in Thorncliffe Park with the cuts. So try to ask John Toria and the others to
For the TTC? Yeah.
TTC. It's a big problem. In the morning you see 3 buses not in service. 3 buses already gone
Right.
from the system.
If you tell me the numbers, we'll inquire about those. Absolutely. So, Jeff, the budget. So the mayor asked all city departments and agencies to cut their budgets by 2.6%. Some were more successful than others. This year, the police came in without an increase, which was actually quite a substantial win, I'll say, because they're usually been up around 2.5% every year. The fire department, they come in at about 2.5%. They didn't cut anything. So there are definitely agencies and departments that didn't cut. In terms of Thorncliffe daycare, there were 300 daycare spaces added, subsidized daycare. Whether they come to Thorncliffe, I don't know, but that's across the city. There are about $40 million of new and enhanced services. The swimming pool issue, there are 3. So what happens with the swimming pools is that the city actually funds, and I forget how many TDSB schools that have swimming pools, cost us about $5 million a year. But what they 69, yeah. So, but what they what they found is that a lot of those schools outside of school hours, which is when the city wants them, they're not used much, right? And it's my position, it's the mayor's position, and I agree with that position, is that if the pools are being used for school and during school hours, that's the school's problem. Okay, we have enough issues that we have to address. So there are 3 schools where they're saying the numbers just don't warrant it. But what they looked at were pools within a 3-kilometer radius. And as long as there was a pool that was underused in a 3-kilometer radius, then they looked at eliminating those funds. And all the 3 schools, Don Mills Collegiate being one of them, fell within those parameters. In terms of, we heard about the student nutrition, that was maintained and I believe it was enhanced. So I don't see any major changes coming with this budget. And one last question, yeah.
Actually, it's a humble suggestion. So one of my friends, I think he's not here, so he said about the aggression in the students or kids. So I would suggest, if it is possible, we can have a meditation and yoga teacher in the school. Sure. And meditation teacher, so some teachers were meditation or yoga class
Meditation
in
teacher.
the school level. So it will, over time, it will definitely help us. I don't know, is it possible or not?
That's
We can
school
hire a
stuff,
teacher
TFT.
over there, even I can volunteer for that one, if Mr. Ahmed can allow in the TNO as well. So, in a couple of years, there is, from the childhood, a student start the meditation, definitely after 2 years of years, it will really make change. So this is my suggestion. And one more thing I want to ask. Students from here, for example, my son also goes to Eastside School, Eastside and Bayview. So it's pretty far from here, right? I live in 43. And they say if it is like at a certain distance, then we can only give the ticket. But it's still very far from here, like it's more than 2.5 kilometers. So anyone who is going from Thorncliffe Grad School because of French immersion program, he has to pay the ticket over there. So is it possible that the school should pay them as well?
So once again, that's a Toronto District School Board issue.
Okay.
We can talk to Jerry Gershon. I think in terms of school bus passes, that they should have a little bit of money there, because when the city council enacted the mayor's desire to make fares on the TTC free for 12 and under, it saved the TDSB about $250,000. Because previously, to your point, they were providing bus fares for a large number of children in the city. So we took over that responsibility. That was a savings to them. But unfortunately, you'd have to speak to Jerry Gershon. And last question, Bill.
Yes, John, earlier you mentioned this subject of when a new development comes in, there's this section 37. So what we have is in the developing areas, I'm glad that the city is squeezing the developers for some funds. I just have a problem with where those funds are going directly. I would submit that developed communities are getting nothing out of it, and growing communities are benefiting from it. So my question to you, John, as a person of great equity and fairness, why don't we put these funds into a pot and let the city decide how to use them?
That's the big political question. So there are a lot of councillors that feel that way, especially in the areas like in Scarborough and I'll say north of Etobicoke that don't have the development. The councillors downtown, well, don't want to hear anything about it.
Well, I want the money, of course.
Right. The one issue is that that money is also to be used towards providing facilities for growing communities. So when you have communities that are growing by 10, 20, 30,000, they do need facilities, and the city's not keeping up. So that's one of the arguments. So Thorncliffe, it is underdeveloped. There's not a lot of development coming, just the 650,000 from Costco. But the way the rules stand now, they have to be used in the community. So those communities would argue, and I guess Leaside would be one of them, is that they're going to be doubling in population. The city's not providing anything. They're going to have the headaches of traffic. So that's their argument. I mean, there are arguments to be made on both sides. That being said, there is a fund. So it's called Section 42, which is parkland funds. So if the developer doesn't put any of the parkland within his or her development, which is normally the case in a lot of these condos, it goes into a fund, and it's just only 25% stays in the community. It gets, the other 75% goes throughout the city. So there is some equity in that.
Now, in terms of this issue, what is your position on it?
Well, right now, because all of our areas are growing somewhat, I'm pretty good with it. I am. There's no question, because there's going to be a lot of growth in and around Flemington, and for sure, and that will translate into both the communities. Yeah. So.
You're really okay with the current approach?
Yeah, because I want, because to my earlier point about getting more than my fair share of the pie, I think that what's going to be coming as a result of the crosstown will actually benefit Ward 26 more than what they would normally get. And they're.
So, you don't think a pot that the city administers centrally and ensures that all of
No,
the
because
neighborhoods
and I'll
fairly according to our 150 neighborhood checklist, 140.
Yeah. Well, there are two things there. Well, no. Well, no, it's easy for me to answer to the extent that I believe that the services should be provided by the city, right? So, for instance, if you have 30,000 people in a community and you don't have a proper community center, that shouldn't be coming from development money. That should be coming from the city. If you are faced with increased development and all the headaches that go with adding a whole bunch of people because you've got 3, 4, 5 towers going in beside you, then you should benefit from all the misery that you're facing. But my original statement that I made, which is about 45 minutes ago, was I would agree with seeing a 2% rise in property tax so that we can start addressing some of those issues. I think the city needs to address those issues. There was a meeting, for instance, and the city came out and said, well, as a result of this development, you're going to be getting Section 37 money and you can use it to fix up the library. I said, absolutely not. That's not the community's responsibility, that's the city's responsibility. And I don't like to blur those lines. If the city has a responsibility, we need to address it as a city. We shouldn't be depending on a development that happens downtown. No, it's okay. I like the last word. Anyway, thank you very much, everyone, for coming tonight, and thank you to the panel.
Yeah.